for farmers and other land users and managers to implement certain best practices that conserve soil and water resources or wildlife and related natural resources. But also we do outreach when we have capacity to with things like this. So there's some quick context, but I don't think we can understate the importance of soil and water conservation and the role of agriculturalists and land managers in providing services to all of us in keeping this land farmland. There are services in the form of water filtration, biodiversity. Obviously, there's a spectrum depending on what the land management is. But anyway, I think a lot of times farmers get a bad rap, and the reality is, like Daryl and Bo were talking about earlier, in the case of water quality, for example, Daryl's not going to apply more fertilizer than he needs because it costs a lot of money. And so they are more aware of the nutrient use efficiency on their farm than anybody. And I don't need to talk about that anymore, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So I'll stop talking about myself in the Conservation District, but if you all ever have any questions or want to discuss more, we're at the Ag Resource Building, 180 Beasley Road, and we can be reached most any time. Feel free to email or call. But I wanted Ricardo to talk a little bit about his background because personally I think it's really interesting, and we're fortunate to have him in the state of Kentucky.
All right, good morning everyone. Happy to be here. I hope you guys are enjoying your tour, and hopefully the sun will not be so hot as we approach lunchtime. I grew up in a farm in Brazil, pretty much similar to what we see here. We also had tobacco. I worked on a tobacco farm as a teenager for a number of years. I don't think we can do that here anymore, but in Brazil that was allowed. But one thing that we had on our farm as well, that we have beef cattle. And we plant cover crops after the corn and beans were out of the ground, and would bring that beef cattle to the cover crops and graze that biomass. And all that manure and urine coming back to the soil was helping to improve soil, improve fertility, improve soil health. That's something I'll start bringing up, and if you go on this type of events in the next couple of years, you might see more on that regard here. I'm in UK for about a year now, so still learning the way of the land in some ways, but happy to be in this type of events. One of my jobs as the extension soil specialist is to train our extension agents like Bo, but also provide education for farmers and homeowners and everyone interested about soils. So I'll start with this question. Who knows what this is? Soil probe. So that's the most important tool I have on my toolbox. We use this to collect soil samples and look at the nutrients in the soil and figure out how much we need and where we need to apply nutrients. So looking at this farm, where do you think we should soil sample to get a representative soil sample from this farm? Like right here, maybe this will give us a representative soil sample of the entire farm. Probably not. Maybe there on the tobacco field we'll get a representative soil sample from the tobacco field, but not from the other fields here. And we see soybeans, we see corn, or a few hay fields on the other side. So each crop responds differently to fertilizer and nutrients, and collecting samples on where each crop is growing is very important to know and manage your fertility. Soil sampling is usually the smartest and the cheapest decision a farmer can do to figure out their budget. Here on this farm, Daryl is doing something we call grid sampling. So every 2.5 acres, he has a sample, and that is mapped, and he can apply fertilizer exactly on the amounts that are needed and where they are needed. So that's a very important soil conservation practice, as Nat was telling us, to help prevent overuse of fertilizer, but also applying what you need so your crops can grow and produce grains. A good soil fertility management will help growing your crops. So if we look, these are soybean plants I just pulled out of the field. Oh, we have another one. And fertility begins way before planting. So that's when you collect your soil sample. You submit your sample to your extension office. The extension office will route the sample to us on campus. We'll analyze the soil sample, get the nutrient levels, and come up with a recommendation. And for most cases, all the fertilizer is applied up front when the crops are planted. And having the right amount of fertilizer early on helps your plants to grow. As the soybean plants are passing through you all, another one here, you see that we have pods that are already on grain filling stage, but we also have flowers. Now they're a little withered because of the weather, but you can still see flowers here, and